Hi folks, today I'm going to be showing you what I think is potentially the current most compact, lossless, tileable, scalable, modular, stackable sugarcane farm design that is available in 1.21.9 and onwards. So, to start with, I'm just going to explain how a single module of this farm works. So, in the normal fashion, you have one sugarcane next to a block, a piston, and another block, because you have to have 3 height. In this case, we use a stair so that water doesn't flow everywhere because we are going to collect the sugarcane with minecarts. But the unique part about this is that we actually detect the sugarcane from above, because when an observer pulses into a block above, it changes the new shelf item block from default to powered. If I put a block here, that briefly triggered. So when that happens, this observer detects the shelf, passes that down, and through quasi-connectivity activates just this piston and no other. And this is one module. Now, this, if you just build in one row, obviously requires some glass or other blocks to contain it. But you can stack these right next to each other all the way along. You don't need to have a light in there because sugarcane can grow in darkness, but I put light in there because I feel like it's weird to grow sugarcane in darkness. Then you just have a minecart rail with some powered rails so you can run the minecart back up and down. And that is one cell, I suppose you could call it, of one set. Now, the most optimal way to do this is to have these facing each other. This way, you don't need glass like you have on the outside here. The walls take up the role of blocking anything from getting out, and then the minecart can go under here. Now, you don't have to use dirt for this. You can use any block that sugarcane will grow on, except for sand. Now, what you want to do is make sure that you have some sort of collection system, and this is a standard minecart collection system. These, because these are stackable, you may actually find that you want to put this at a right angle so that your hopper can run straight out and then go down into another line of hoppers, or down into the hoppers of whatever module is above this. But this is what this as a single set looks like. So now I'm going to show you how to build a nice double set of these that is conveniently sized because it happens to use exactly one stack of observers. So you can start by building this first part into the ground, but I'm going to show you how to build it in the air, simply because if you stack these on top of each other, you're going to have to start by putting this collection system in the air. For the purposes of this, I'm going to assume that you are stacking these on top of each other and you want to run your hoppers down neatly, which means I'm going to put the actual the redstone stop at a right angle. So we start here, and this is where you are going to want to have this shape. Right. This is the 4 blocks you need for the redstone stop, and that's the block you need for the minecart stop. So you're going to want to come 2 out from your minecart stop, put 1 underneath, and then you're going to start your minecart run here. Alright, so from this point, you're going to actually need slightly more space than you have when you just have a single set like that. So you're going to come out here, 1, 2, 3, and get rid of those 2. So then you're going to want 2 blocks here. Then you're going to go out this way, and come 2 blocks out this way, and then you're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You're going to come back the same way, come across 2 blocks, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and come back again. You're then going to want your railways, And this is going to be a connection that is a little tricky, and we'll work that out later. So just for now, we'll place these. The next part is that you are going to want to put down your grass blocks, or whatever else you're using. Can be plain dirt, mud, rooted dirt, podzol, moss, whatever floats your boat. Anything that is not sand, because you don't want gravity affected blocks, otherwise you can break the farm. When you have an interior set like this, I actually recommend doing your stairs this way. I find it is a little bit neater. It doesn't matter which way your stairs face for the purposes of the sugarcane growing. It only matters for making sure water doesn't flow everywhere. On this side, obviously this is the outside, so you are going to want your stairs to face inwards so that they don't flow water in every direction, obviously. Obviously, if you're doing multiple sets of these in a row, you can have all of these facing internally instead. When you are making this farm, it is important to note that this can be scaled basically as big as you want on this first layer, so as long as you want in sets, or as long as you want in cells and as far as you want in sets, until essentially it takes at least 3 minutes for your minecart to make a round circuit. When it takes your minecart more than 3 minutes, that's when you're going to start running into problems. We are going to, while we're here, just fill these up with water. If you really want, you can put a block underneath all of these stairs, and that will allow them water to spread like it would normally. When they're floating like this, you have to fill every one of them manually. Now we're just going to paste over all of them with our stone brick. Now you might notice that I have a combination of deep slate and stone bricks here. This is because I use deep slate for blocks that are part of a redstone setup where if I break the deep slate, something else will break, and I use stone bricks for inert blocks where the actual function is less important. So if a deep slate block breaks, I know I've broken something else. If a stone block breaks, I just know I need to replace it before things will actually work again afterwards. This is just a system that I use. Now, all of these pistons obviously need to face inwards. This will be about, this module will use 32 pistons. And then you need a stair. Now it is very important that the stairs face away from where you're going to grow the sugarcane. Otherwise, you can get sugarcane stuck on the stairs, and that would be a waste of sugarcane. Alright, then we are going to set up the observers. So you're going to place a temporary block and then put a stone block up there, and then you're going to make a whole layer of stone blocks that all sit above the stairs like this on all sides. And then your observers are all going to look up at these blocks. Alrighty, we are then going to want to place some more temporary blocks here in line with your stone stairs so that you can put your observers facing down. Alright, you're then going to want to move all of these stone blocks from on top of the observers there to on top of the backs, because these observers' faces need to see something else, but you will need stone blocks up here. This moving these around just means that you don't need so many blocks temporarily. To do this. Alright, now that we have these observers, remove these temporary blocks, and they're clear. Alright, now that we're up here, it's time to install the shelves. These are what your observers are looking at. Be careful, shelves like to get put inside shelves, like that. Now we have all of our shelves, and this is essentially most of the farm done. As mentioned, this is an optional step, but I like to put light in here. You don't have to, though if you are making this very large, you will want at least some light, just so you don't accidentally spawn mobs inside your sugarcane farm, which would be unfortunate. Alright, then we're going to come in here, and we're just going to place our sugarcane. Now we need to get our minecarts actually working. So, first things first, you're going to need to get these two linked together and then use a switch. Now it doesn't really matter which way this goes. It can go left first or it can go right first. It'll tend to go right first. The important thing is that this one is pointing in and that this goes around and out. Once you have done that, you then just need to make sure that you have some powered rails. This will work best if they are at the start of each run. And this is plenty. Use however many you need for whatever size you are doing. You're then going to want to have your hoppers that go wherever. So for example, if you have a chest over here, you can connect your hoppers like so. Or because this one can go wherever, you can just take this down and out. Or you can take this, for example, out, and then if these are stacked, for example, you can take this down to wherever the one below is and connect them to wherever you need to. Essentially, you can take from this hopper in any direction to wherever you need to go for your storage system. For the purposes of this, we're going to go into this chest. We're then going to need a powered rail on there, your comparator facing out of that, your torch, and some redstone dust. And then you put down a hopper minecart, and off it goes, and it collects everything. And when it comes here, it will pause just long enough to unload. That's the rail that we lost. So once your minecart is going, this is a complete layer of the farm. This is the whole thing. This is one nice, neat stack of observers. It makes one module. It's super compact, straight up and straight down, so very little footprint. And when you want to make this taller, which you can do, you can just build straight on top of it, because when you place so it might be surprising to some that these are directly stackable, but that is because when you place a redstone block on there, it does not activate the shelf. And if you put if we grow this one real quick, it still triggers it when the observer sends a pulse through to that block. It still activates the shelf even with the redstone block there, and it still activates the system. So you can directly stack these on top of each other with no spaces, as long as your redstone block is on top of a block and not on top of a shelf, because that will activate the shelf. So it's important that you are This is why this first part in the run step is important, because it makes sure that your redstone blocks are at a safe location on top of another stone block and not on top of a shelf. For example, if you had one here, this would be a problem. Doing like this, you can just build another rail right here. With another exit like that. And this works exactly the same. Just build everything exactly the same again, and you can keep taking these up as high as you want. I've stacked 3 of these on top of each other, no problem. Now, I will note that what I have made here is actually technically only 99.9% lossless. And that is because right on the end here, when the minecart goes around this corner, it does not pick up things right on this very corner of the block here and this very corner of the block here. So occasionally a bit of sugarcane will fall onto these very, very back corners and the minecart will miss it. If that tiny percent bothers you, you can always make it perfectly lossless by simply extending that slightly further, and then your farm will be perfectly lossless. Since you need to cover the end of the farm anyway, as long as you don't mind a space here, that works perfectly fine as well. And that is how you build what I think is currently the most compact, modular, lossless, scalable, tileable, stackable sugarcane farm that currently is possible in Minecraft 1.21.9 and above. This has been my first ever Minecraft video. So thank you very much for watching, and I hope this helps you in your builds.